Welcome to LogoTalk Radio, the world's first podcast on logotherapy and existential analysis. Logotherapy is a form of psychotherapy developed by Dr. Viktor Frankl. It relies on the defiant power of the human spirit to discover meaning under any and all circumstances. I'm Marshall Lewis, your host and a logotherapist. Welcome to your podcast. Coming to you from the cultural capital of the Russian Federation, this is LogoTalk Radio number 86, interview with Harald Mori.
LogoTalk, the Viktor Frankl podcast.
Harald Mori has been working in private psychotherapy practice since 1991. He received his Doctor of Medicine and Master of Science in Psychotherapy through his studies in Graz, Vienna, and Munich. He is a licensed psycho-oncologist and licensed psychotherapist specializing in logotherapy and existential analysis. He lectures extensively worldwide, including his native Austria, Brazil, Argentina, Japan, Canada, United States, Russia, South Korea, and Peru. In January 1987, as a young medical student and later graduate in psychotherapy, Harald Mori had the honor of meeting Dr. Viktor Frankl in person. In the following years, he became his student and assistant at Frankl's University lectures in Vienna, as well as in his personal matters. Hosted today by Ekaterina Voulfson, LogoTalk Radio is pleased to welcome Harald Mori to our program.
Dear Harald, on behalf of Radio LogoTalk, let me welcome you.
Thank you very much, Tatjana. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you.
Dear Harald, it's an honor to have you here with Radio LogoTalk in St. Petersburg. You have a great wisdom and experience to share with the listeners of the LogoTalk. And let me begin with asking you a very open-ended questions. Tell us a few words about yourself.
I'm already 56 years now in summer, so I don't know if I have a lot of wisdom, but a lot of experience. I was born in South Austria in Klagenfurt. I lived there until I was 19. I went to Graz and later to Vienna for studying medicine. And while studying medicine, I changed after a certain time into psychotherapy. I got a psychotherapeutic education, by the way, initiated by Viktor Frankl himself in about 1987, which is 31 years ago. And so life brought me to become a psychotherapist, a logotherapist, existential analyst, and some more. And also what I appreciate very much, lecturing logotherapy all around the world meanwhile.
Mm-hmm. You were a student of Viktor Frankl and after that an assistant of him. Mm-hmm. Tell us some words about the experiences with this man.
It was a very strange encounter. I was living in a very small room. I had no shower, so I went down in my house to go to sauna for showering. Viktor Frankl also entered the sauna. I met him there, and very shyly asked him if I can have some questions to him. And he said, yes, okay, come with me. So my first encounter with Frankl was in temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. And I learned a lot from him there. We met every Friday at 12 o'clock. Then I could accompany him to go home to Mariannengasse with him. And so after that I started education logotherapy in 1987 in autumn. And for more than 10 years we were in a very close encounter that grew slowly. So I was studying logotherapy in an institute, but also by Frankl himself in personal talks. Then some years later, in 1990, he started with his university lectures. He was already 85 years old. And there I started to become his assistant in the University of Vienna, Medical University, for assisting him in his lectures and later on also in some private spheres and private activities. But I must say, he never had a secretary or something like that. So the only one who really was his closest friend and assistant was his wife Ellie. And so my role was very small, but sometimes very intense.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you know and we know a lot about intellectual work of Viktor Frankl, but how does this man impress you as a human being, as a person?
He was quite uncomplicated, you know, we met in the sauna naked, so he was not shy about that, and he talked a lot in that way about his experiences in concentration camps. So we were showering together beside each other, and he said, oh, you see, from this shower now we get water and not gas like in Auschwitz. And so he was very modest, very humble, always open-minded and curious about what's going on. He loved details like ties or ornaments and so on, but he was a very concentrated and focused man in the same way. So for me, he combined a high rational capacity with a very deep emotion. And a lot of people nowadays who read his books and who do not read them deeply, they think, oh, he was not emotional enough, but he was very, very emotional too. But he tried to use his emotions for meaningful activities in life. And what I really appreciated was his high open-mindedness and curiosity. So he was always interested in people and in what's going on. For me, and I knew him until he died, until his last day of life, and even on the last day of his life, he was still very awake and very vivid, and never, let's say, an old man. And he was very, very quick, very fast. So the time with this man from age 82 to 92, it was the fastest time in my life.
What was your greatest lesson from that period of time?
I think it was two lessons. One lesson was to learn from him to face people who did not like him or who were aggressive against him or against logotherapy, against his Jewish heritage and so on. And he found a way to handle it. He changed his attitude and he did not really care about that. So he was very stable in a way, and he did not allow other people to irritate him in his way, way in life. And the other thing was that he was still interested in life, as I told you before. I had a friend, she suffered from, a medical doctor, she suffered from a severe cancer, and there were some complications. And I told him, he was already 90 years old at the time, told him there was a complication in hospital and now probably she will be paralyzed or could fall into coma. Immediately, he said, if she wants to see me, take me to the hospital, we go to visit her. Next day we visited her, and 2 days later she fell into coma. So he was active, he was really doing what a medical doctor and what a logotherapist was ought to do.
Mm-hmm. Where did life take you after that?
I would say that it was life at logotherapy that took me into the world. Of course, I told you I went from Frankfurt, which is a very small city in Italy, to Vienna, the city of Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler and all these big elephants of psychotherapy, dinosaurs. And it brought me to open my own practice in logotherapy, in psychotherapy. I married. My wife is a pediatrician, I have 2 children, and since about 15 years, meanwhile, I am able to travel all around the world, from Japan to Argentina and to Russia, what I appreciate very much, to teach logotherapy and to have seminars with people who are interested in logotherapy and existential analysis, and also in the life of Viktor Frankl, in the authentic life. He's interested in his biography. They ask me, how did you experience him like you do? How was he really? And I give the same answers as I give to you.
What do you see the greatest challenges for logotherapy today, and what are the most important tasks it needs to accomplish?
That's a very good question. I mean, logotherapy was founded almost about 80 years ago, 80 years, so in 1929, 1930, 1938, so it's a long time ago. Well, what we need is, in two ways, not to worship Viktor Frankl. He never wants to be a guru, but to learn and to teach what is and what was the essence of his logotherapeutic work, of his psychotherapy, which is very philosophical, very practical, very medical, very psychological. And on the other hand, to implement logotherapy and to combine it with what we have now in our modern knowledge of 2018, 2020, about brain imaging, brain function, about psychological behavior of people, and to make a combination of this original structure of logotherapy with modern approaches to how is a human being behaving, how is a human being functioning in that way, yes, and what is the humanistic aspect still of our life. So I think this is, and the other challenge is to maybe to implement still good educations in logotherapy, and also to use certifications and to separate practical and specialization of therapists and logotherapists from self-help, which is also important, but to separate it a little bit and to show the people what is really a fundamental scientific approach.
Dear Harald, what are the current projects you are working on?
My main project, of course, is my practice in Vienna. Psychotherapeutic, logotherapeutic practice, work with people. I'm interested very much in psycho-oncology, and what I'm working on at the moment is a combination of gynecological psycho-oncology combined with logotherapy and existential analysis, and we have a lot of interesting studies in the world, especially in New York, with Breitbart, Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and so they are giving us evidence that thinking logotherapeutically really is effective, and that is what we need. So that's what I'm interested in very much.
Is there anything you want to share with our listeners? Something we didn't ask you?
Yes, of course. I mean, first of all, thank you very much for this interview, for this interest, and for showing people that you do not have and do not need to be a guru of Viktor Frankl, and I'm not worshipping him. He was a normal man, but he was a genius in one way. And he gave us something that we can share nowadays, and he always wanted us to use what he offered us with his logotherapy in a modern context, in a contemporary context, for the people with the needs of our time. And I only can encourage all people, especially specialists and therapists and logotherapists, to go on in research and to not to convince the people about meaning in life, but to be examples and to be themselves people who show, yes, life has meaning despite of problems, despite of tragedies, and to bring hope to the people. That's what I would say is important.
Thank you very much for visiting Radio LogoTalk and being here today.
Thank you very much, Katja, and if it's allowed in US LogoTalk, I say большое спасибо. Thank you very much and good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're listening to LogoTalk Radio.
LogoTalk Radio has been graciously hosted by Ekaterina Voulfson. Believe in Me, a song dedicated to Viktor Frankl, is written and performed by Tatjana Vucinic. Additional podcast identification is provided by Dana Simmons. Our title graphic is by Franklin Lewis. Post-production is by Marshall Lewis. All past episodes, links, and show notes are available at logotalkradio.com. Our email is logotalk@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and may you have a meaningful day.